What's going on YouTube? OCD for EDC here. And what I got for your face balls today is we're going to do a quick review and disassembly of two knives. We have the Civivi Asticus and the Rike Thule. And because these are both, they're not similar in their construction, but they are very similar in size, we're going to take a look at both of them and do a disassembly real quick. But first things first, let's get into size and dimensions of these two knives. So we'll first do the Civivi Asticus. Overall length on this guy is 8.775 inches, so you're a little over 8 3/4. You got just barely over 5 inches of handle length. It actually measures 5.005. Blade length is 3.77 inches. You got a handle thickness of 0.475. A really nice thin blade here. Blade stock thickness is 115 thousandths. And you've got a beautiful hollow grind that comes down to 15 thousandths behind the edge on this Damascus blade. This knife comes in various configurations. This one happens to be the Damascus with carbon fiber, but really nice liner lock from Civivi. And this one here was actually donated, and the reason why I'm kind of rushing through this review is because this knife was donated as a giveaway by Mr. BJ Hill over at Hilltop Knives and Gear. And so for those that were present during our Sunday night live stream that my wife and I do, you would have seen this knife be given away. And so I'm doing the review real quick because BJ had originally sent this to me just to check out and do a review on. But he wanted me to give it away last night as a little congratulations for the 2,000 subscribers. So thank you very much, Mr. BJ Hill. If you haven't checked his channel out, go over there and do so. Hilltop Knives and Gear. He's got some really great stuff. You can also follow him on Instagram. He does a lot of stuff there as well. All right, so let's get a weight on the Civivi Asticus real quick. So for those of you that are not familiar with Civivi knives, which I can't imagine anyone watching this isn't, but this is Wee's budget line, and Civivi's doing great work. They just do some awesome knives, and let's get a weight on this thing. So 3.903 ounces, so just under 4 ounces for basically 3 3/4 inches of blade. Action on it is exactly what you would expect from Civivi. It's on bearings. It's a nice liner lock. You know, the handle's very neutral. This is going to work in a wide variety of hands. You've got a large forward choil that works extremely well. Beautiful hollow ground. Like I said, the hollow grind is fantastic. This blade really cuts well. It's going to slice through a whole various amount of materials. And all the way around, I just like it. It's just a good knife. I've heard a few people comment about the shadow boxed scales here where the liners protrude. The only thing that I find a little bit odd about this one is that the reveal of, the distance that the liners stick out from the scales is not consistent all the way around, which makes it a little bit goofy or weird. But to me, it's not uncomfortable at all. I can show you I have another knife here that has kind of shadow boxed scales, if you will. And you can see that the reveal here is very consistent all the way around, as well as on this particular knife. This is the Tuya knife bruiser, I think. But these micarta scales are contoured and humped up, which makes for, really, really great ergos on this thing. On the Civivi, the carbon fiber scales are flat, so it's not as comfortable in the hand as the Tuya knife is, but it's still very, very good. If they would have, I probably would have liked it slightly better if they would have got the carbon fiber a little closer and made that reveal smaller. But overall, I think it's a great knife. The liners don't, they're very nicely chamfered and such, so they're good on the hand all the way around. I think it's a great knife, especially for the money here. Civivi also does a great job with their deep carry pocket clips. They work well in the hand as well as just work awesome in the pocket. So I really like the Civivi deep carry clips. And price on this knife, the way this one's sitting here, this is $76.50. And if you get this in the standard fare, which is D2 and G10, and they have multiple different colors, that one is $55 and like 60 cents. So, really nice budget price here. So let's go ahead real quick and tear this thing down. I assume it's going to be a very simple disassembly, but I think I'm only going to need to remove this back screw, maybe not. Now that I'm looking at it here, I think both of these pocket clip screws, yeah, go into the back spacer. My drivers, there we go. Oh, we've got an internal screw here. Okay, so we had T8 on the pivot and T6 on the clip screws and this internal body screw. Let's pop this off real quick. So you can see we've got some pretty, holy cow, some pretty extreme weight relieving going on. I'm gonna have to find that screw. There we go. It wasn't the screw, it was the lanyard pin. That's what it was that went flying. Alright, so you can see we've got some real extreme weight relieving, and I'm going to clean this up just a little bit because we've got quite a bit of gunk on there. So Civivi did a really nice job here. They kept the acid etching that you use to bring out the Damascus pattern, or they polished it off where the detent track is, which is really nice. Otherwise, you would feel that riding on the detent ball. But clean that up. Get these bearings cleaned up quick. And then we'll clean up this side here. So, real simple construction. You do have this lanyard spot right here in the back. Looks to be a G10 back spacer, which is very nicely done. All right, so let's throw this back together quick. So I'm going to use a little KPL on the bearings and the pivot. I'll throw this blade stop pin back in. Perfect. Civivi really just kind of burst onto the scene a little while ago, and they've just done a just a really great job with some, the wrong stuff there. Real great job with some nice budget models. Most of them are in that, I'm going to say $50 to $75 range. And you're just getting a lot of bang for the buck there. The one thing that I really, really enjoy to see on these knives is the thin blade stock with, really nice aggressive grinds that come down to a real nice thin behind the edge knife. And for those that don't know, the grind or the geometry of the blade is what gives it its cutting performance. The composition of the steel just tells you how long it's going to do that. So, first and foremost, you have to have a really nice blade grind if you're going to have a good performing knife. And I think that's something that, a lot of people just think about, oh, well, this is M390 or it's this steel or that steel, and put a lot of weight into just the composition of the material and not thinking so much about the I'm gonna have to take this, well, I don't know that we're gonna be able to, let me see here, hopefully if I can push this out. I didn't bring another driver with me, which is kind of a bummer. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to have to go grab another T6 because this one body screw, the barrel spacer, is just spinning. Just a second. All right, now I'm back in. Got the other driver, and I'll pop this back off. I'm going to end up, I've got to take the other side scale off just because that screw is loose. So, I'm going to pop this pivot out real quick. Set that right there. So this screw here is a T8. Set that bearing right there for the moment. That's a bummer. That screw being loose is just kind of messing up the whole show here. So if that screw is tight from the other side, then you won't have any issues. All right, so this screw right here is the one I'm talking about, and you can see that it is loose as I'm bumping my camera. Let me get that tightened up real quick. Okay. All right. Okay, now we can go ahead and do this reassembly. Civivi also does a really nice job with their pivots being captured, which is really nice. And let's see here. Anytime you have a free spinning pivot, well, that's the issue I'm having back here with the screw being free spinning. It just is a bummer. You have to get more tools involved and just makes for a bit of a pain in the butt. Nothing too big of it, not too huge of an ordeal, but you know, it's a little nicer when things are D-shaped and you just don't have to worry about it on the backside. Let's get this liner put on here. There we go. All right, get this screw started here. Perfect. All right, now we're good to go. We'll set down the lock side scale. And we'll go ahead and throw in the pivot screw. Alrighty. And then we do have two different length screws back here for the pocket clip. The longer screw goes in the top hole, or the furthest back hole. And these are, I think I said that the clip screws were T6. They're actually not. They're T8. That was my mistake. I was thinking they were T6. Well, as I'm saying that, that one is T6. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So on one side, the clip screws are T6, and on the other side, they're T8, which is very interesting. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Certainly that small body screw that was internal to the knife, that was T6 for sure. So yeah, so you got this screw right here, which is a T8. I don't know how well you can see that or not. And then on the other side, the clip screws are T6, which is quite interesting. Like I said, I don't know that I've ever seen that before, but it's first time for everything, I suppose. All right. action is great. Have just the tiniest amount of blade play. Let me tighten that up just a bit. Perfect. All right, so the Civivi Asticus. I think it's a great knife all the way around. For the price, I think, you know, for $76, you're not getting hurt here. If you want the Damascus for $55, the standard one is really great. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of D2, but at that price, it's pretty hard to beat. All right, on to the Rike Thule. This is a great knife, just all the way around. This version here with the carbon fiber inlay, you can see this is a G10 integral. This one happens to be the red and black layered G10 with carbon fiber inlays. This model right here is $150. Or they have various colors in just G10, and those are $140. So quite interesting. It's 154 cm blade steel, good sized knife. You can see in comparison to the Civivi, they are very, very similar in overall length. But let's go through the stats real quick on the Rike knife. It is 8.748 inches, so just barely under 8 3/4. You've got a handle length that is 5.025 and a blade length that is 3.723. It's 556 thousandths thick in the handle. Blade stock thickness is a svelte 118 thousandths. And this comes down, this is a flat ground blade, but it comes down to 13 thousandths behind the edge. So very, very nice grind on this one. Let's get a weight on this guy. So for, you know, just under an 8 3/4 inch overall knife, you're looking at 3.423 ounces. So very, very nice weight to size ratio on this one. This is a flipper. Personally, I think it would have made an awesome thumb stud knife, or, you know, some type of an opening hole. The flipper tab works perfectly, no issues there. This is, because it's an integral, it is a liner lock. You can see here you got these two external screws where the liner is held in. The pocket clip on this guy is not reversible. I don't know that I said it or not, but the Civivi is reversible for right or left tip-up carry. On the Rike, it is not reversible, and I'll show you why that is. So the screws here that hold the clip in are quite long, and they are T6. But the pocket clip functions extremely well. It's just a nice stamped steel clip, and you can see here's the two screws right there. And then you have that guy, which is the female portion of, that's your threaded portion. And so that sits in that recessed hole right there. And then you've got this milled out area for the clip. So, you know, originally when I first unboxed this knife, I was, just because it had this on the one side, I was thinking that the clip was going to be reversible. It is not. However, even though I'm left-handed, I still carry a bunch of knives, right hand, either tip up or tip down carry, depending on the knife I'm carrying. And so I'm very used to carrying right-handed, just because that's what most knives are. So not the end of any worlds, but it would have been nice to make this clip reversible. And especially with it being an integral, I feel like they could have done something there to make it reversible, which, yeah, it is what it is. But I feel like that was kind of an opportunity missed a little bit, because it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to, just make that threaded insert a little different, make it, make the milled out area the same on both sides, and make the little threaded insert fit that milled out area. But either way, it's still an awesome knife. I really like it. The one thing that, for the materials, the construction quality and stuff here, it's really great. The one negative that I have about this knife, it's very sharp around these edges. Now, I have not sanded this off yet, just because I wanted to show it in video. I am definitely going to, though. You can see that all the other edges are very, very nicely contoured. Everything's very smooth and nice, except for this area right back here. So I will definitely be softening all those corners just because it will make the knife a lot more comfortable. But this is a great knife all the way around. It's lightweight. It's a good size blade. Action on it is great. It's an integral, which I really like, the G10 integral. And let's tear it apart and check it out real quick. So it's real interesting the way this knife is put together. I'm going to go ahead. So I loosened up the screw right there. It's T8 pivot. And now I am going to, so I've got the screw fairly loose, and I'm just going to push the screw so you can see it came out on the other side there. Go ahead and open this a little bit. All right. So there's the pivot. There's the screw. And I'm going to hold the lock bar up, and I just pulled the blade out. I'm going to wipe all the crap off the blade. Sorry about the dogs barking. I think my wife just got home. But you can see there the detent track that it rides on. You've got this milled out area on the blade where the bearings sit in, which is very, very nicely done. Rike does a phenomenal job on all their machining. It's it's quite impressive what they do. So now there's one of the bearings right there. Let's see if I can get the other one to pop out. There it is. So on this knife, you do have, if I can get it to pick up there, these are ceramic caged, nylon caged bearings. Very nice. We'll set those off to the side. And then now I'm going to push one of these the bearing or what captures the bearing area here. This is actually a milled titanium part. And then you've got a stainless steel washer in there that the bearing rides on. But you can see how thick that titanium is. You also have these blue pivot collars. And that's what's holding in the stop pin as well. So let me get the other one out here and I'll show you how this thing operates. Well, if I can get it to come out, there it goes. All right. So here's the other side. You can see the little hole right there is for the stop pin. And the stop pin goes through the G10 right there. And you can see it's actually a pin within a collar. Or there's like a shaft collar, if you will. And so you can actually push the pin out. I don't know if I'll be able to. Oh, there we go. So that's the pin that runs through the G10, but then you can see that there's still a pin in there, and that just increases the diameter of the stop pin. And there it is right there. So it's just a little collar. You can see there's some crud on it. I'll get that cleaned up. I've been carrying this knife quite a bit in the last, I don't know, week to 10 days or so. It's a great knife, and it's super lightweight. I'm just cleaning the inside of this out here real quick with this microfiber cloth. One of the downsides to the integral construction is, not being able to separate the two slabs, but it makes for very, very strong construction. And yeah, this one is no exception. It's just beautifully done. Rike just did a stand-up job with this knife. It's really fantastic. Personally, I can't think of another G10 integral knife. There might be some, but I'm just not aware of. but this is certainly the first one that I have ever had. Let me grab a little tool here. Just using this to spread the two sides apart just a little bit so I can get that. There we go. Get the stop pin in there. Let's get her pushed over into position. There we go. It's all lined up. So now I'm going to stick this pin back through just like that. And you can see that my stop collar is on there. And now we will put one side, actually, it's this one, and put one side of the pivot assembly back together. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go from the other side so I don't have the clip to deal with. Of course, that kind of stuck in there. All right. So this way I can set it like this and not have the clip messing with me. But these titanium components, as I'm dropping them here, it's just really well made. And Rike, you know, anytime you look at a Rike knife, they're just kind of flexing and showing off with their machining prowess. It's if you look at like the Alien models and stuff, Rike just does an amazing job with all the machining work. You can see here on the pivot they have the Rike logo and stuff. It's, yeah, they just do really, really great work. All right, so now what I'm going to do, and I keep dropping everything, I just, good Lord. Okay, so hopefully we're back in now. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that bearing down in there. So if you can see, the bearing is sitting down in there. I'm going to go ahead and throw just a little bit of KPL on. I'm going to throw the pivot. There we go. And now I'm going to use that, throw a little KPL on there. Okay, so now I'm going to slide this up a bit, and I'm going to have the pivot in. I'm using letting the table help me here. And, all right. Just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna stick the other washer or other bearing down in there. Throw a little bit of lube on there as well. Okay, and then we'll put our other bearing cage on here, just like so, and put our pivot screw. That's the T6. There's my T8. Put the pivot screw in. And then I'm going to, on this knife here, you can see the detent hole when it's halfway open. It is closed, or when the blade's all the way open, the detent hole is hidden. But in the travel, you can see it there. So I'm just going to do it that way and add a little of this KPL heavy to the detent hole. I'll go ahead and shut that. And then I'm going to tighten my pivot the rest of the way. Still a little bit off center. Perfect. Action on it is fantastic. Blade is perfectly centered. You can actually with the layered G10. You can see right where that blade comes on the center layer there. So, like I said, really just kind of showing off with their machining prowess, but yeah, really cool. Real quick, something I didn't talk about earlier, balance point on the Rike Thule is right there. And on the Civivi Asticus, which is one of the worst names ever for a knife, is back just a little bit further because, yeah. So you can see there with the stainless steel liners, you know, the handle of this knife's just a little bit heavier, but still really great knife. So both of these I fully recommend. If you like the looks of either one of these, I do know that the Thule sold out a little faster than they were expecting. They will be back in stock soon. But I think both of these are a fantastic deal for the money, and both are just great EDC knives. They both pocket well. They're both great in the hand. Good materials, look cool. So both of these are really checking all the boxes. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that little review on the Civivi Asticus and the Rike Thule. Thanks so much. Have a good one, and we will talk to you later. Bye.